everyone. My name is Richard Socher. We're here at Davos. I'm a former Stanford professor, chief scientist at Salesforce, and now run U.com, AIX Ventures, and a new superintelligence lab.
My name is Robert Mahari, also coming from Davos. And I'm currently at Stanford, Associate Director of the Codex Center, where I run a law and CS research group, and recently spun out Akiva, which is a company that provides bespoke AI solutions for legal. Go for it. Yeah.
So we were asked to talk about superintelligence, when it will come, what the impacts will be. I think in very narrow domains, we can already get superintelligence. I think that's fair to say, right? Whenever you can simulate or verify something, then AI can get superintelligent in that one narrow domain. For example, chess, Go, you can infinitely simulate, you can verify, did I win, did I not, is this a good move or not? And hence, of course, AI is going to get superintelligence because it can train infinitely many times, essentially. So I feel like that is a fair statement. Now, how do we get to AI that will really have massive impact across different industries? I have a lot of thoughts, but what do you think about the narrow superintelligence definition first?
So I feel like in so many ways, we've blown past superintelligence. I mean, in the sense that any LLM right now can think longer, harder, more intensely than most humans, and the answers are like pretty solid, right? And I don't think, at least in legal, but in many domains, I don't think that reasoning ability, like sheer intelligence, is our blocker. I think what our blocker is integration with other kinds of systems, right? So for example, this is playing to you, but I mean it, being able to find verifiable information. That's not going to come from the LLM alone. Being able to work with systems that people are already using, right? And it's mundane stuff, but like people work in Microsoft, people work in Outlook, like how do you integrate with those systems? And then being able to do more long-term planning, right? And I guess with superintelligence, right? Someone who's going to get a Nobel Prize spends decades working on something. I think
unless they use AI.
Yeah. Well, I think AI is like very, very short time horizons, right? So you can solve a very narrowly defined problem. I think the moment where it's like, well, run a law firm, AI, it's going to kind of break down, and that at that level of abstraction, we haven't really scratched the surface.
I think that's right. I think what we're seeing is actually, and maybe it's good to define first, what do we mean by AI, AGI, superintelligence? So AI, right, is just like once we've moved from machine learning to systems we can actually have a conversation with that actually have like a long-term like sense of what we're talking about, I felt like it's fair to call it AI. I'd invented prompt engineering in 2018, still at Stanford, but also at Salesforce Research. And so once like one model can be prompted with any kind of question and give you a good answer, it also starts to feel more like AGI. It's quite general, right? We can ask it like, here are my blood results. Like, give me a second opinion how to improve some of those metrics. Here are my tax returns. Like, did I miss anything based on all of these other things? So, like, there are all these very specific things that one model can now be prompted to do. And so, I feel like that is already a first version of AGI. And then we need to look at superintelligence. And for my definition, it would be it is better than all of humanity along a certain dimension, then it's super intelligent in that dimension, and then it can actually learn everything. And so one thing I'm particularly excited about, you're right, is like information processing, helping people actually be accurate, up to date, have citations for what they get from their chatbots. That's what we're working on at U.com. But also, there's now a question of what is the frontier for superintelligence? And to me personally, it is about automating knowledge discovery. If we just do all the jobs that normal people can already do, then are we making the best use of superintelligence? And so one thing I'm excited to work on now also is to actually automate the scientific method, where we automate the ideation, experimentation, training, and validation of research ideas, and then we can put that system onto itself and then get recursive self-improving superintelligence, and that I think is the main path in my book.
So since we're both kind of academic or academic adjacent, here's a thought, and I don't know, maybe this is interesting for folks. I feel like there are artful and not artful professions. And the artful professions are the ones where you would say, I don't want to live in a world without X, right? I don't want to live in a world without artists. I don't want to live in a world without cooks. I probably am very okay living in a world without lawyers, because it's a world in which like the friction that comes with interacting with other people is solved somehow automatically. Similar with doctors. Like in a world without doctors, it means that I'm not getting sick, presumably. And so it's interesting with like superintelligence. I don't know if you think about this, right? Like are there areas where we don't actually want to outcompete the human, just because there's something beautiful and artful about having humans do that thing, even if we're not that good at it? Yeah.
I really like that framing, actually. I think if you mostly care about the outputs of a profession or an industry, you love AI.
Yes.
If you mostly care about how many hours I spend on the job or in this profession, then you might not love AI. And so you're actually exactly right. Like, I've seen this with lawyers too. We worked with some lawyers, invested in companies that work with lawyers. And when we initially, the first wave of these AI companies, they went to lawyers and said, by the way, we can make you 30 or 50 or 100% more efficient. You can do 20 NDAs instead of just like 5 in 1 hour. But then the lawyers initially said, well, I get paid an hourly rate. I don't really care if I'm doing 20 or 5. And so that, I think, shows that the entire industry could get disrupted, the way you described, but also that there are these murky human incentive structures that will slow the adoption of superintelligence down.
I mean, for the legal context, what I've seen play out is, sure, you have this, the billable hour I don't think is going anywhere, and you have that initial kind of reluctance. Then general counsels found out about AI and said, why am I paying you to review NDA? Like, why am I paying you for stuff that ChatGPT can obviously do demonstrably? And then that's the market pressure, right? And so certain things you can't bill for, and I think in a mundane sort of supply and demand, right? Like the things that we can commodify, the price goes down because the supply goes up, and like I think we'll just see that. I guess, I mean, just to go back, like part of me is saddened by the idea of like commodifying some aspects of human output, right? And I don't know, I mean, it's one of those like move fast and break things. I have immense optimism for AI, especially for legal. And there are just like other areas, because you work on AI much more broadly than I do, right? I have a pretty narrow vertical focus. I wonder, like, do you think about like, oh, like I don't want to touch this sector because like I don't want to disrupt this sector or something along those lines?
It's kind of interesting. A lot of musicians are skeptical of AI-generated music. A lot of artists are skeptical of AI-generated art, but it's also clear that we do have more of it now. Like, if you want to see a painting in the style of Monet with a little bit of Cézanne and maybe add some Dali into it, but show Davos, you can now have it. And I do think the artistic expression now goes on a higher meta level. You still need to be creative, and you still need to have the right ideas. And like, maybe I don't want another girl with a pearl earring. Maybe I want a pearl with a girl earring. And it's just like these like interesting, weird ideas you still have to have. But then the execution is there, and we've seen this already. If you're a really famous artist, you often have a team that actually helps you. Sure. It's now that even the poorest of artists, can have a team that help them. And I think one thing that this is exemplary of is that we will see all the goods and services that currently only wealthy people have access to, that are bottlenecked on intelligence. Everyone will have access to those. This is a really good way to predict the future. And one such example is a legal opinion that not everyone would have access to, a personal assistant, a personal healthcare tutor for my team, for my kids, or a personal healthcare team that reads all the latest literature and then tries to give me a good answer. Those are all goods and services that only the wealthiest have access to. And because the marginal cost of intelligence is going down, and superintelligence is going to be able to adapt to all of us much, much better and be more useful, we will all be able to have access to.
So there hasn't been a time in history when humans haven't found some way to order themselves by some arbitrary definition of value. I think Davos is a very nice place to really show you that segmentation. And so I think intelligence is one of them, and probably one that has been gaining traction. In the last century, I think we've really embraced intelligence as a pretty reasonable way of ordering humans, meritocracy, right? Like your intellectual merit. If intelligence becomes commodified, presumably it becomes a poor way of ordering humanity. What takes over? And the worst case scenario is it's just whatever money you make in the next 3 years. I guess we should talk about timelines, but in the next 10 years until we have super intelligence, that's it. That's locked in, and that's your place in society.
I personally don't believe in ordering people. I think that's a very multidimensional space. And intelligence is also a very multidimensional space, right? Yeah, and it's interesting because these spaces are not mutually necessary or exclusive for each other. You can have amazing visual intelligence, but a blind person can still be intelligent, you know?
Yeah.
And so in that sense, I think the main thing we're going to need is more agency and more creativity. And then still a way to manage the intelligence. And that, I think, will be the biggest shift for humanity. Everyone is going to become a manager of AI in some form or another. And that means everyone has to learn to delegate, right? To like know when to trust that system that does our work for us, when to double check and verify and have proper citations and work with the right partners and things like that that get you that. I think that skill is going to be the one that differentiates a lot of sort of financial outcomes, at least for people. And then, of course, because humans are so multidimensional, some people may off-ramp from progress and say, I just want to live on a beautiful Greek island, go fishing in the morning, and live my life peacefully. But the people, the companies, and the countries that lean into AI, they're going to start pulling away.
Sounds like a UBI pitch, no?
It could be, yeah. I struggle a little bit with UBI because I think work creates a lot of meaning. Even people who hate their job, internally, deep down, they know that this makes them a really useful part of society, and they get value out of that and meaning to support their families and so on. So I struggle a little bit with UBI, but I do think providing more services, healthcare and so on, to more people in more countries will be sort of a part of UBI.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's like a nice microeconomics argument to be made here that I like to tell law firm partners this, right? Like, I don't know what's left after AI is done, transforming your practice, but whatever is left, whatever AI is bad at and that you're good at, you can charge lots of premium for that, right? It's just like a supply and demand thing. And presumably, like, this is going to be true across society as a whole, right? Like, whatever AI struggles to do for whatever reason, e.g. robotics still seems unsolved. Maybe that will all just do robotics.
Right.
Maybe that's kind of just the natural ordering of
I
things.
I do think you can kind of predict what industry will have most impact, will be most impacted by AI based on how much training data is being collected in that industry. And you're right, robotics, for instance, no one collects training data on plumbing. There's no plumber with like 3D scanners and GoPros and sensors on their hands and how they're dealing with certain pipes and stuff. And so we know from that plumbing will be a very long time before AI will automate it. But the legal profession is mostly digital. And I think the next wave that we're seeing now, and also invested in companies, they're basically doing the full stack law firm.
Yep.
So that they actually get the benefit from being way more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, this AI native law firm is such an interesting concept because it's been tried a few times. And I think a few times people have really failed to make it work. From an intelligence standpoint, we're probably there. I think the other component is a trust standpoint, right? And
That's right.
Law firms have a very strong signaling capacity, right? Like, there are lawyers you can walk into a negotiation with and you have the sense that, like, okay, we're going to win this negotiation just because of the team I brought with me. An AI law firm can't really provide that.
That's exactly right. I think it will do the boring bits of law, right? It's like check those NDAs and so on. And I think that's true for so many different kinds of jobs. Like, I talk to journalists a lot. They also are like, I love AI when it transcribes things for me. I used to have to type for hours, like interviews and so on. Now I just get it right away with an AI. And then there's certain parts of the core of journalism where you actually have to go somewhere. You have to think about good interview questions, which maybe you can help with an AI, but you want to talk to a person. You want to know what's happening on the ground. And we think that part of journalism will always stay. And I think you're right, that sort of human negotiation, like at the highest form of law, where it's really like, yes, it's all legal, but you want to get a good deal out of something. I think that will also be something that will stay with humans for much longer.
But I think, I don't know, there was this period where you take like the most boring, mundane, like back office function, right? Something that like we didn't particularly value. And if you wrote a paper on that for machine learning or machine learning for that, it was like a banger, paper. And that's how we like thought about like the use of automation. It's like the bottom up, like do the mundane stuff. I think for the first time we can kind of, rather than automating the associate, empower the rainmaker, and like back to the superintelligence kind of question, I wonder if this bottom up, like do the boring stuff first, is the best way, now that the tools are a lot better and a lot more flexible and a lot more powerful, is the best way to kind of realize value for society, and kind of flipping that on its head and saying like, no, let's go after the high value stuff, right?
I love that. I absolutely love that. And that actually, I think one of the most high-powered things, and most useful things for humanity is to automate the scientific method itself. Like, humanity has been mucking around for hundreds of thousands of years until we created a proper scientific method where you have hypotheses, you have models, you can falsify them in the proper sense. You like actually then can learn and improve those models and improve those hypotheses. And then if we now can get AI to automate that, then really it'll just be a matter of how many resources do we want to give in terms of compute to an AI to cure this kind of cancer, this kind of disease, this kind of age problem, and so on, or this kind of business problem, and this kind of software engineering question. That will be the only thing. And so I think it will be another massive accelerant for the progress of humanity.
So on that one, we hosted, together with some folks at MIT, Stanford, and Harvard, a roundtable yesterday. There's a bunch of professors, and we were talking about the post-AGI university. And one of the questions was, when you do research, when you run your research lab, are you optimizing for output? Are you optimizing for something else? And several people said, my output is people, not papers. And so like with automating the scientific method, I'm with you, right? Like, let's cure cancer, let's, mine space, whatever it is, right? Let's solve climate change. Is there not also kind of another side benefit to a human-driven scientific method? And like, how do we keep that piece intact?
I love that. I think actually, as former professor and mentor for a lot of researchers, I do think we need to train their minds. I do think we will all, even as researchers, work at higher levels of abstraction. You can think of I think a PhD student of the future will probably be more like a National Science Foundation program manager, who's like, I want to work on this thing. I want to supervise all my AI agents to work towards a solution for this problem. They need to learn that taste. And then they need to learn again how to delegate that and how to guide their superintelligence to help them solve certain problems. And then it can, never stop. It'll always work on something. It can automate experimentation and validation and background research, and also inform the researchers like, this is what I found. And then you may need again some taste on like, was this a useful thing to have been found?
Yeah. No, I don't know if universities are up for it, but.
I think it'll be a tough transformation, like with most businesses and industries. Yeah.
But it would be a much more pleasant PhD, right, to do it that way.
I really enjoyed my PhD, but I had a lot of friends who had a tough time. Yeah. So yeah, I do think high level, the future needs better marketing. We need better storytelling, actually, for an exciting progress and an exciting AI-powered future. Because a lot of people are, I think, too worried and not quite hearing enough stories about all the incredible upsides. And with that, thanks,
awesome,
everyone.
Thanks.